welcome back to the Minute Women podcast. My name is Grace.
And I'm Linnea.
How are you today, Linnea?
I am
How are you today?
I am good.
Pretending like I haven't seen you
I know.
all today, basically all yesterday.
Yesterday we did something very exciting.
Oh yeah, we were on North and Normal podcast.
Yeah, we were graciously invited by the North of Normal boys.
Yeah, Spencer and Hunter.
Yes, thank you so much. And we went there and we felt like famous celebrity experts.
Yeah, I walked in and my head couldn't fit out the door. They were way too kind to us.
They were so lovely. And yeah, we had a really fun time. We talked about the Heritage Minutes and a couple other fun Canadian things.
About Canadiana.
Hunter is a big comic book fan, so we talked about some
comics for a little bit.
And yeah, it was a blast. It was a fun time, and we can't wait to have them on our show.
Yeah, so you should go subscribe to North and Normal podcast.
Yes.
The episode will be out within the month. So I'm not sure exactly when it comes out, but we will definitely post on our Instagram and Facebook and Twitter when it does come out.
Yeah, and they also have Instagram and Facebook, and it's North and Normal Podcast.
North and Normal podcast.
Yeah.
Great, guys. So ready to dive into this week's episode?
I am so ready. I'm excited.
Yeah, I've already prefaced this a bunch of times where I was like writing it and I was like, man, this is boring.
Yeah, Grace
They're not all winners. Like sometimes you really got to get inventive with what the minute's going to be about.
Grace has warned me, which, you know, it makes it a bit of a challenge for me, and I love a good challenge.
Yeah, I just want to keep you on edge.
I'm going to make this the best episode yet.
Best episode yet. You ready?
Maybe, yeah.
So we're going to do the Casavant Organs Heritage Minute.
Oh, like the musical organs.
Yeah, musical organs.
That's always a treat. I find that's one thing for me. Like, I've been in circumstances like several times, which sounds really weird, that someone has mentioned organs and they were talking about musical organs.
Oh, yeah.
But I like heard the conversation as like real organs. My grandmother,
it's gonna be gory.
My grandmother, she had a friend whose husband collected organs.
Oh, okay, yeah, okay.
And
my brain immediately was
exactly.
like, he's stealing kidneys?
And passed
in the
away.
night?
He passed away, and my grandmother was like talking about how her friend had to like sell these organs.
How do you collect organs?
Right?
They're big instruments.
Right? And so anyway, so I was very confused, and then I understood in the conversation that it's actual organs.
Yeah.
Yeah, he was a organ player, and he he had several organs in their large home.
Interesting.
Yeah.
I think it's a interesting heritage minute because I don't think organs are necessarily something you associate with Canada.
Nope.
Though to be fair, it is one of the most renowned organ manufacturers in the world still.
Yes.
And the way that they round out the Heritage Minute is by saying, like, Joseph Casavant, one of Canada's first entrepreneurs.
Yeah.
And I was like, okay, is that why he's famous, though? I don't think he's famous because he's an entrepreneur. I think he's famous because he was such a skilled craftsman.
Yeah.
And then the extra strange layer to it is that, while, yes, he was a master organ maker, it's really his sons that go on and make the Casavant name.
And
they
make it a name,
found the company.
Yeah.
So... yeah, the Heritage Minute is about Joseph Casavant. He's from Quebec. He kind of abandons his blacksmithing to go learn classics from a priest, and then that priest winds up teaching him how to make organs, and so then he makes organs.
Did he play organs?
I don't think so. I mean, he must have been able to enough to make it.
Right, to know, like, the notes and stuff.
Yeah, and I guess to, like, test it, but it's not... He loves music, but he's not an organist.
Right, he's
not
an
organ
known
maker
for being a musician.
Yeah, exactly. So
this episode I found like very like haunting as a kid. Like the organ music, and like they play, and like I remember this one, and this one was narrated by that lady's voice who they used for a couple, I believe.
Yeah, at the very end there's a little narration.
And
I don't remember if it's a woman or a man, but it probably is the woman that you're thinking of.
I think it's the lady. Yeah.
So this is a very classic one. I think, again, it's kind of obscure. Like, is it a deep-seated part of our national history? I don't know. But we're going to go into all kinds of things because his biography is actually pretty short and straightforward. So we're going to go through, like, the history of organs and how they were made. And then we're going to talk about Joseph, and we're going to talk about his sons. And then we're going to talk about the company. We're going to talk about everything Casavant today.
I'm excited.
Alrighty.
I'm ready.
And why, I guess, at the end of the day, hopefully we'll walk away with like Casavant is one of Canada's top brands.
Yeah.
You know, we're going to have brand loyalty after this.
Yeah. It'll be on par with Bombardier.
Yeah. The pipe organ is a musical instrument, not a part of your body.
Yeah. Okay.
That produces sound by driving pressurized air called wind through the organ pipes selected from a keyboard.
Called wind.
Wind. Earth. Water. Fire. Air. Shout out to my Avatar The Last Airbender fans. Because each pipe produces a single pitch, the pipes are provided in sets called ranks, each of which has a common timbre and volume throughout the keyboard compass.
Okay.
Most organs have many ranks of pipes of differing timbre, pitch, and volume that the player can employ singly or in combination through the use of the controls called stops. So that is the basic mechanics of an organ. Love that.
Love that.
Did I ever tell you the time? I went to Paris and we like
Casual.
Went to Paris and we like stumbled upon this church called Saint Eustache, and they do pipe organ concerts. I think every evening, or at least every evening before mass, and it's like so stereotypical of this huge pipe organ. Like the pipes went from like floor to ceiling, probably like 2.5 stories tall, and the tiniest little man comes out to play. He looked like a little elf, and he had red socks and like in this suit, and it was beautiful. It's like, oh, I get it. Like I get why this is so impactful.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But this tiny little
man. He looked like a Keegler elf.
Oh my god. I hope that tiny little man isn't listening. That's
Shout
really
out to
cool.
Saint Eustache organist. I think he was like the organist of the Royal Orchestra for Paris or France.
That's so cool.
Yeah. So given the immense size and complexity of a traditional pipe organ, you may assume, like I did, that they're a relatively modern instrument. But organs are actually one of the oldest instruments that are still used in European musical traditions. Huh. So it's like super old. Goes back to like ancient Greece.
Oh, that's wild.
Right? And I was like, how do you get
that's
such like
so
a
complex.
Big, I know.
How do you go there before just going to a piano?
Right, exactly. So the word organ is derived from the ancient Greek word organo, which means a generic tool or instrument. So I think that says a lot too. It's just like the most generic word for a musical instrument winds up being the word that we associate with pipe organ.
Which is a super complex instrument.
Super complex.
Yeah. But I think that also makes sense why organs in our body are called organs.
Yeah, because it's like it's like the fundamental tool of your body.
Yeah.
Cool.
I think it's cool.
I love word origins. I used to listen to a podcast called The History of the English Language.
Oh.
Super interesting.
That sounds really cool.
Yeah. It's a great podcast.
Yeah.
They don't need our support in any way. It's like a very popular podcast, but you know.
Shout out.
So the word then transferred to Latin as organum, which was an instrument similar to a portive organ, which is a small handheld version of an organ.
Right.
And that was used really popularly in ancient Roman circus games. So, like, you'd be at the circus.
The circus.
Under
the tent. With the elephants.
With the elephants and the lions.
And
the
the
bears.
bears.
Oh, my. And they would have, like, these small handheld organs.
Okay. It's kind of like a, what is that called?
A harmonic? Or not a harmonica. An
accordion.
Accordion, there we go.
Yeah. Okay. Kind of like an accordion.
I had a friend who really wanted to learn accordion.
Weird.
I don't know why. Weird. Accordion is kind of like bagpipes.
I was just gonna say it's like kind of that
melt.
same. It's kind of that
like
same
you push
genre.
The air through. Yeah.
Yeah.
This is the night. That's the song I always think of. So, in ancient Greece, you have the creation of like the first organ. So the first organ is called a hydraulis, which delivered wind that was maintained through water pressure.
Oh,
so you actually need like water to keep the air pressure up.
Oh.
I don't know exactly how it works.
This is science.
This is engineering. The height, the height of technology, which I also find very beautiful when there's like so much innovation and like technical work put into just making something that sounds pretty.
Yeah.
Like there's no other reason to make it.
No.
Other than like pure enjoyment.
This
and
will
I like
sound
that.
really beautiful.
This is gonna sound great, guys.
Grab the water.
Get my bucket. So the oldest organ found is a hydraulis from 1st century BC, and it's currently housed in a museum in Dijon, Greece. The hydraulis remained popular throughout the Roman Empire, and by the 2nd century AD, the pumps and water regulators of the hydraulis were replaced with an inflated leather bag. So very much like a bagpipe.
Very much so. Yeah, same engineering.
Some 400 pieces of a hydraulis from the year 228 have been revealed during the 1931 archaeological excavations from the former Roman town of Aquincum in the province of Pannonia, which is near modern-day Budapest.
Which, like we were also saying, kind of the same concept as an accordion.
Yeah.
Which is,
for sure.
Yeah, the point of an accordion is like two basically pianos, and then the noise comes through the bag.
The pushing,
middle. The pushing of the bag.
Yeah. And I think it says a lot that there's so much archaeological record of them.
Yeah.
Because it says how popular they are.
Yeah.
Like, if you're finding, like, this many from that time period,
right,
probably means that they were everywhere.
And there were way more than you're, like, recovering.
Yeah. So true bellows didn't start appearing until the 6th or 7th century in the Eastern Roman Empire. In the 9th century, a Persian geographer wrote a lexicographical discussion of musical instruments and cited the organ as a common instrument in the Eastern Roman Empire. It was used by royalty in the imperial capital of Constantinople, and the account of a Syrian visitor noted that it was played at the emperor's Christmas dinner in the year 911.
Wow.
Christmas Day.
Christmas Day. Let's whip out the organ.
The first Western European pipe organ with great leaden pipes was sent from Constantinople to the West by the Byzantine Emperor Constantine V.
That's
as a
wild.
gift.
Transporting an organ now sounds insane.
Yeah.
Like,
that's true. How did you get it there?
Yeah. They
lead
walked.
pipes. You've got to carry lead pipes
They
across the
carried it
countryside.
on their shoulders.
Yeah, the whole way. No stops.
No stop.
This is express.
Yeah.
So it was given to King Pepin of the Franks in the year 757.
Wow.
So Pepin's son Charlemagne requested a similar organ for his chapel in the year 812, beginning the establishment of a Western European church tradition of organs.
Okay.
It's a very top-down history, though.
Yeah.
It seems like I mean, you got to be pretty rich to have this instrument.
Yeah.
Shows some clout.
Some class.
In medieval Europe, portable organs emerged as popular sacred and secular instruments with references to them in art and manuscripts. The pipe organ became deeply connected to the Christian faith, which is another interesting part of this Heritage Minute, is that it is so Christian. I don't know if it would get made today.
Well, that's the thing. And you were saying, like, not sure why this one was made.
Yeah.
And I think part of it probably has to do with the church. Like, I think that's
think
why
so?
it was made. At that time, like...
The church is their hand in the Heritage Minutes.
Well, like, in the early 90s, it wasn't controversial.
That's fair.
To talk about, like, the church. To talk about Christian values and just assume that that was something that was of interest to all Canadians.
That's a decent national value.
Yeah.
Like, you can do whatever you want, but also Christian values, they're pretty good.
They're pretty good, yeah. Yeah.
In the 11th century, a monk named Theophilus wrote a Latin treatise which translates to On Various Arts. The treatise describes step by step how to construct a church organ, revealing the complex system of knobs and drones that operated the instrument and the air-filled hoses that were controlled by the player's feet that maintained the organ's air pressure. Organs became larger and by the 4th century were designed as permanent installations built into the churches themselves. Yeah. One installed in Halberstadt, Germany, was built in 1361 and was the first to use a chromatic key layout on its 3 manuals. So that's like the keyboard on a piano. It's a chromatic key.
Right.
It had 20 bellows operated by 10 men, and the wind pressure was so high that the player had to use the full strength of his arms to hold down a key.
Wow.
How is that convenient?
Like I'm just
the
imagining.
music would have to be so simple.
Yeah.
It's like hot cross buns.
Yeah.
But it's the most majestic hot cross buns you've ever heard.
Yeah, it's beautiful. But yeah, that sounds like
10
artwork.
dudes.
Well, and also, you know, you're talking about like the guy who you saw play in Paris.
Yeah.
With just a tiny little man.
Just one guy.
Like, imagine if it's one tiny little man trying to hold down that key.
He's got to stand on the keys.
He's got his
hold
feet
it down.
on the keys.
Yeah. Phantom of the Opera.
I know, I loved it.
Love it. During the Renaissance and Baroque periods, organs continued to be innovated to provide a variety of timbres and tones, and also were designed to be pieces of art themselves.
Yeah.
Organs featured well-balanced mechanical key actions, giving the organist precise control over the pipe speech. So I guess that's like volume.
Yeah.
Builders,
and tone, probably.
Yeah. I don't know quite the difference between timbre and tone. I think they're kind of like wedded.
Your
in
mom
some
would
ways.
know.
She absolutely would. Actually, this is probably the episode we should have brought her on for.
Yeah.
I was telling her that we were doing this one, and I was like, it's kind of a weird one. And she's like, Casavant is incredible. Of course, it's a heritage
Grace's
minute.
mom is very musical.
Very musical. She went to university for music until she got mono, and then she couldn't sing anymore. Well, she can sing now, but like during that time, she was like, do I like hold off my degree? Like, wait. I think she still got a minor in music, though.
It's very cool.
Shout out to Catherine.
Grace's mom.
Yeah. So builders began constructing instruments that were themselves artistic masterpieces, displaying both exquisite craftsmanship and beautiful sound. Pipe organs also began to take on national identities. For example, in the Netherlands, organs were large instruments with several divisions, double ranks, and mounted cornets, while in northern Germany, even more divisions were common and independent pedal divisions became the norm.
Fancy.
Again, what's that supposed to mean? I don't know. But I know that they have national identities.
Cornets, that's like a trumpet, isn't it?
Yeah, I imagine they got to be like that. It has to be something else. It has to means something else too.
Maybe. Unless they've got like trumpets at the top of the pipes, like blowing the air out through a trumpet.
We cannot play the organ without 2 cornet players. It'd be just so unpatriotic.
To the Netherlands.
In France, Italy, Spain, and Portugal, organs were still primarily used to accompany congregational singing in churches. So those are the Catholic countries, and so they get real churchy.
Naturally.
This demand produced what is known as the French classical organ. So I guess it's an organ more designed to be a piece of accompaniment, not an independent instrument.
Right.
In England, many pipe organs were destroyed or removed from churches during the English Reformation of the 16th century and the Commonwealth period. Some were relocated to private homes. At the Restoration, organ builders such as Renatus Harris and Father Bernard Smith brought new organ building ideas from continental Europe.
Okay.
During the Romantic period, the organ became more symphonic, capable of creating gradual crescendos. So now we want something with like feeling
again, but with feeling.
Romance, yeah. New technologies and the work of organ builders made it possible to build larger organs with more stops, more variation in sound timbre, and even more divisions. We want more. Organs are not about reduction.
No.
They are not minimalist.
They're about more.
We want more.
I'm starting to believe there really were trumpets on top.
Potentially freaking angels on top. Jesus himself
on top of the organ. But we need more.
We want more. The desire for louder, grander organs required that the stops be voiced on higher wind pressure than before. As a result, a greater force was required to overcome the wind pressure and depress the keys.
Yeah.
So I guess pushing down the keys on an organ is like the primary issue you face when playing an organ.
Which is interesting.
Which is like the main hurdle.
That's kind of what you have to do, though.
You gotta get down. Gotta get that key down.
Gotta get that pressure.
Under pressure. Organ builders began to lean towards specifications with fewer mixtures and high-pitched stops. They began to create organs with a warmer, richer sound than was common in the 18th century.
Okay.
We want something warm. We want something cozy, comfy.
Yeah.
Absolutely. The 19th century rung in the modern era of organ making and the tradition that produced Joseph Casavant, the first renowned Canadian organ maker. Joseph.
Wow. We've got one.
We're here.
We're not even a country yet.
Not even a country yet, yeah. Joseph was born in 1807, so a solid 60 years before Confederation, in the town of Saint Hyacinthe in Lower Canada. So it's not even Quebec yet, but, you know. I always think it's weird. I know it's about the river. Like, I know that Upper Canada is Upper River, so that's why it's up. But Ontario is south of Quebec. So
Yeah.
it's always strange to me that
It's true.
Quebec is lower Canada. That's just my beef, though.
That's
I'll keep it to myself.
Yeah, that's for another day. Focus on the organs, Grace.
Yeah, sorry. So we don't know a lot about young Joseph, but we do know his first trade was as a blacksmith. Mm-hmm. So when he wasn't hammering away on the anvil, Joseph loved to take in music at the house of Jean de Saul, who was the seigneur of Saint Hyacinthe. Okay. And Monsieur de Saul home featured the town's only piano, and Joseph was infatuated with it.
Yeah.
He fell so in love with music that he decided to abandon the trade of blacksmithing altogether to study classics at the age of 27.
Yeah.
And this is a pretty bold decision. So blacksmithing was rarely practiced full time. So if you're a blacksmith, you probably do other things on the side as well. Mm-hmm. But it does guarantee employment and income during the early 19th century.
Right.
Joseph probably would have already poured in at least 3 years into apprenticeship to become a blacksmith, likely learning from his father. And so he left all that security behind with just $16 in his pocket to move to Sainte Thérèse to study under the parish priest Charles Joseph Ducharme, who had recently opened a classical college. Huh. So I guess he was going there to study music, but also classics. To me, that's like you're learning classical languages and stuff as well. Joseph lived in the village of Sainte Thérèse and studied out of the presbytery, which would have been the home of Father Ducharme. Okay. Joseph spent hours drawing sounds from an old piano and from a violin of his own contriving. So he's like drawing sounds. He sounds so cool. Kind of like a savant almost.
Yeah. That's very cool.
He demonstrated a high level of intelligence both in music and craftsmanship. This natural intelligence led Ducharme to invite Joseph to become his pupil to study the construction of organs.
Oh, wow.
Ducharme lent Joseph the works of Don François de Beauce de Celle, one of which was an enormous treatise called L'Art de Facteur d'Orgue. So, how to make an organ. The art of making organs, which was written from 1766 to 1778. So it took him 12 years to write this book.
There's a lot to know.
This monumental opus contains great historical details about 18th century organ building and is still referred to by more modern organ builders today.
Very cool.
Joseph devoured the treatise. It was through this book that he received his first training into the manufacturing of instruments and began learning this new trade.
Very cool.
Soon, success came his way, for he managed to finish a partially built organ, which was in the presbytery, and he managed to finish it. The result was, by 1840, about 6 years after he left to study under Ducharme, he was able to undertake in his own workshop the building of an organ for the parish church of Saint Martin. So he's making his way. He's like, I was a successful blacksmith. Now I'm a successful organ maker. Thank you very much.
I'm just a successful young man.
I'm doing it.
How old is he?
So he was 27 when he left, and it's been about 6 years. So I think he's 33.
Okay, cool.
Which is kind of old.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking.
That time period. Today I think it would take a lot of courage at 27 to be like, I'm abandoning my whole career and I'm totally realigning what I'm doing.
Yeah.
Which, is really not that old, but for this time.
Yeah.
In 1843, he put up another instrument for sale with 12 stops, and in 1844, the parish council of Saint Jean in Laval County wanted to have its own Casavant organ. It was probably at this period that he took on a partner, so Augustin Lavallée. When he was still very young, Augustin showed great talent for music and an aptitude for delicate workmanship. During the rebellion of 1837, he was with his father at the Battle of Saint Charles-sur-Richelieu. Shortly after, his first child was born towards the end of 1842, and he decided to leave his blacksmith shop to settle in Verchères near the better-equipped smithy to work at his trade. In his spare time, he became a fiddler and a violin maker. So he's very similar to Joseph. He's a blacksmith, but also, loves music on the side. Mm-hmm. And set about putting together an orchestra. So he's like, I love to make fiddles and violins. I'm going to do a whole orchestra. I would also
Let's make a band, boys.
Yeah, I would also love if he was like, I'm going to make all the instruments. From snare drums to cornets to organs to violins. We got it all.
He's going to make an oboe.
An oboe. Bass oboe.
Love it.
Oboe players are weird.
Weird.
That was always a band like gimmick. If you played oboe,
Yeah.
it was like...
The girl who played oboe in my high school band named it Obi-Wan Kenobi.
Okay, that's kind of funny.
Which was funny.
That's pretty good. Around 1848, Augustine moved with his family to St. Jacinth and worked with Joseph at his shop. So now they have like a partnership.
Very cool.
And Augustine's son would go on to become a famous pianist, composer, and music teacher.
So they're musical folks.
Yeah, very musical. And like they decided to form a little partnership.
A little thing.
Joseph's growing fame soon brought him an order for an organ at the Church of Bytown, which is now Ottawa. Mm-hmm. He went to this town to live there temporarily during its construction, and it was also there on the 19th of June in 1850. He married Marie Olive Sicard de Carful. Oh. Why do French people have to have so many names?
So
many names.
Well, it's like French, and then like in that era, it's just like they were just like everybody had a couple names, and like the French just like take it a step further. It's like let's just give her 7 names.
Every name that's ever been in our family tree will now be yours. You carry that burden.
You're welcome.
When you introduce yourself, it's going to take about 5 minutes.
Yep.
They had 2 sons, so Clave on the 16th of September, 1855, and Samuel on the 5th of April, 1859.
Very nice.
Meanwhile, Joseph was receiving more and more orders, producing an increasing number of fine instruments. So he built an organ for Kingston. He built one for St. Jerome in 1861. He's killing it.
He's killing it.
Prolific. Also, I think if you're working alone, and without really much modern industrialization, building an organ has to take a long time.
He is running the organ game.
Yeah, I think he's everything.
Yeah,
he is a partner, but like
he
is Casavant Organs.
Casavant Organs.
In 1866, Joseph, who, following the custom of the time, considered himself old at the early age of 59.
Yeah.
So at 59, he's like, I'm gonna retire. But also, that's not that that's a kind of normal retirement.
60. Yeah.
By his retirement, he had created 17 pipe organs.
Wow. Which
is also interesting because it's like that by modern standards is not a high level of production. But when you're one guy
and it's like a pipe organ, I would say that like a pipe organ takes like at least a year.
Has to, yeah. I think the big ones that he's making, like sometimes there's like a 6-year gap.
Well, the ones that he's building in the churches.
Yeah, and I think he has to go and like live there to make them.
That's a big deal. Like it took a year to put the organ in the church in Lunenburg,
which I believe is a Casavant.
Yeah, it is.
So there's a Casavant in Lunenburg. There's 2 in Halifax.
Yeah, it's at
and
the
there's
Anglican
one other
Church
in the province.
in Lunenburg.
Yeah,
and it's beautiful.
Beautiful organ. So Joseph passed over his establishment to his assistant, but it was agreed upon that once his sons were of age, they would take over the business.
Right.
So it's essentially this like agreement that once Clave and Samuel had gone through their apprenticeship, they would take over the business entirely.
Right.
So Joseph Casavant's 2 sons, Clave and Samuel, grew up observing their father's love of the craft of organ building. They worked alongside his assistant, but it was soon apparent that if they wanted to follow their father's career and perfect their art, they would need to acquire a wider knowledge and more experience. Mm-hmm. So in 1878, Clave left for France, and a few years later, Samuel follows him.
Oh,
so
nice.
Younger brother's following in his footsteps.
Going to learn about the organs.
Clave worked for John Abbey in Versailles, and both he and Samuel spent time with Calvé Cole.
Nice.
So big names in the organ world.
Big names.
I want like baseball cards for these guys.
Yeah, it's like the Wayne Gretzky of organ making.
The Wayne Gretzky of organ making. The Casavant brothers traveled extensively in Europe, visiting various builders and significant organs in France, Italy, Switzerland, Germany, Berlin, and England.
Oh my gosh, so well traveled.
Yeah, and then they just come on back to St. Jacinth.
To go back to Canada, which isn't Canada.
It's now Canada. We're in the 70s.
Right. We're now Canada.
We like breezed through Confederation.
Yeah. Just skipped over that.
So in 1879, they return and they established themselves as Casavant Frères, so Casavant brothers. They have a company now on the site where the present workshop still stands.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
That's very cool.
Their first announcement stated, quote, "We are capable of building instruments boasting the most recent innovations such as concave pedal board, balanced expression pedal, keyboard improvements, etc." End quote.
Etc.
You know, we got it all.
We got it all. You want pedals?
Got you.
You want pipes?
We got it.
We have it all.
Ha ha. We got it.
Yeah.
Their first organ, completed in 1880, was a 2-manual organ with 13 stops installed at Chapelle Notre-Dame de Lourdes in Montreal.
Wow.
Clave was 24 years old and Samuel was 20.
Mm-hmm.
So young guys build an organ. But I feel like once you have 2 people, you can like roll this out
especially
a little faster.
If you've been that's who you've been working with your whole
life. Yeah. Further contracts followed at a rate of about 2 or 3 a year. Their first 3-manual instrument, named Opus 8, was a 38-stop organ installed in St. Hyacinthe Cathedral in 1885.
Wowza, 38 stops. That's a big boy.
Big boy.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, the stops are like the buttons
that
you push and punch. And it's always a mystery to me when I would like go to church and like our organist would sit down and she's like, do 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 do. I'm like, oh wow, like I wouldn't even know where to begin. It kind of looks almost like a with old like telephones. You'd have to like punch in the chords. Yeah, like that
at the operating stations.
Yeah, exactly. So it featured the first successful adjustable capture combination action mechanism to be installed in an organ ever.
Whoa.
Ever.
That is big news.
I've never been more invested in organs in my entire life.
Holy crap.
They are feats of technology, though. It is really interesting.
Oh, it's cool. It's like science and art and technology and
like
engineering.
The perfect blend.
It is. It blends a lot of different aspects.
Because music is math. Did you know that? Music is math.
I did know that. And I know that if you are like a mathematic thinker, like if
you're better at music.
You're better at music. Yeah.
Which, this isn't a math podcast.
Nope, it's not.
We try to do music.
Yeah.
Maybe this is our like foray into math. I don't know if
we'll
ever get there.
That's gonna be a no for me.
That's gonna be I'm gonna have to take a pass.
Yeah.
The instrument that firmly established Casavant Frères as an internationally recognized organ building company was a 4-manual mechanical action with 82 stops that was completed in 1891 for the Church of Notre Dame in Montreal. So that's like the big cathedral in Montreal. And it's still there. I've seen it.
Yeah, I've seen it.
They like light it up with these like blue stage lights.
Yeah.
It's very intimidating.
It's a spectacle.
Catholics are not subtle.
Nope.
It's like, oh. It's kind of like the drag queen of churches. In some ways, it's just like how big and how flamboyant can we get this?
Yeah, how like lights, yes. Fireworks, sure.
Absolutely.
Like throw some candles on top and get some kids to sing in front of it.
Like the advice, like take one thing off at the door, like take one accessory off at the door.
Catholics
add like 25.
Yeah.
25 sacraments.
Yeah.
So this instrument, which celebrated its centennial in 1991, included adjustable combinations and speaking pipes of 32-foot-long facades. So it's like 32 feet high. That's
bonkers.
For one instrument.
Yeah.
Anyways, that's crazy to me.
That's big. I wouldn't want to jump from the top of that, that's for sure.
Nope. I mean, that's good to hear.
No, thanks.
Are you okay?
We'll talk after the podcast.
We'll talk after the podcast. These organs all were installed in Quebec and soon were followed by other orders throughout Canada, and then they started building organs in the United States.
Wow.
During their career...
Breaking the market. Just
they're entering this foray. They're
Very
killing
cool.
it, crushing it. During their career, the brothers received much recognition for their work, including being awarded the Grand Prix at the International Exhibition held in Antwerp, Belgium in 1930.
the Grand Prix.
The Grand Prix of organs. This is the fastest organ we've ever seen. Formula 1 organs.
Can you imagine?
Organ races. It's like I would love to see the combination of Formula 1 and organ.
Yeah.
building / playing. So I want it like, so you got a Formula One car.
Oh, like
you'll hook up the organ to the back.
Yeah. No. I'm imagining it like the like 1,000 Miles by Vanessa Carlton when she's like on the organ riding through town. Yeah,
absolutely.
Yeah, that's what I'm picturing.
Downtown.
Yeah.
But it's like 100 kilometers an hour.
Yeah,
like,
and she's just like riding this piano. That's.
But it's just so fast.
Yeah.
Man. And they gotta build the organ, and it's 32 feet tall. Oh, God. It's like a rocket ship.
Oh my gosh.
The bigger, the better, the faster.
Yeah.
Fast and Furious organ edition.
Yeah.
Get Vin Diesel in here.
Fast and Furious, organs and organ.
That's so dumb. That's so stupid.
It's a spinoff for sure.
So, in addition to numerous
Fast and Furious,
organs,
hit us up for our ideas.
Vin Diesel, where you at? You thought you saw Vin Diesel yesterday. Side note.
Not yesterday, day before.
The day before, sorry.
Yeah, I'm walking around Halifax, and I was like prefacing this to Grace, and I was like,
I know it's not.
had I not been in Halifax, in like Nova Scotia, Canada, like in a random off season during COVID-19 pandemic, like it's definitely not him. But I saw this guy, and I was so sure that it was Vin Diesel. Like,
positive.
and he had sunglasses on. Vin Diesel wears sunglasses. I'm like, it was uncanny.
You know, like, 'cause no one else does that. Oh, man. Okay. So in addition to the numerous fine organs on the North American continent, they began installing others in France, the West Indies, South and Central America, Zimbabwe, and Japan.
Whoa.
Yeah. They're like
Whoa.
international brothers.
I love it.
They would totally have a reality show today.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Like
Oh,
organs.
Yeah. They're like those real estate brothers. Those real estate
property
twins.
bros.
Yeah.
They'd be organ bros.
Yeah.
Brogans. I don't know when Mark's gonna cancel this podcast, but I've got to I feel it coming. So the large archives preserved by the company contain letters and testimonials from famous organists, and visitors, like famous organists, were often photographed in the studio with the Casavant brothers.
That's pretty cool. I'm like a big freaking deal.
They're big wheels down at the cracker factory, but like the organ factory.
Yeah.
It is one of those things of like, okay, so would you rather be like a general B-list celebrity? So like you're just kind of generally known by everyone.
Like those property brothers.
Like the property brothers. Or would you rather be super, super, super famous in this very niche market? Because then like to some people, you're Jesus Christ. But to everyone else, you're just like a dude.
You're just like a dude. Yeah. I don't know.
Because I think I'd rather be really famous in a very niche way.
I also agree. Because I love to be worshipped.
But not all the time.
But
also
all
I
the
want to
time.
get a coffee.
Yeah, I want to be able to get a coffee, but I also want, I honestly feel like it's how I felt being with Spencer and Hunter yesterday. I was like, you guys
so nice
think we're really cool.
That's silly.
That's so silly, but say it again.
Please, yeah,
Please, don't stop. Don't stop.
Also, I feel like B-list celebrity is kind of the worst because like everyone vaguely knows you, but probably doesn't know you for anything specific. So like people would come and like take pictures with you, which would kind of throw off your day, but also not with the kind of added reward of like, oh, this person like really cherishes what I do, and that makes me feel appreciated.
It's one of those B-lists.
Yeah. So I think like there's like one organist in a room of 100 people, and Samuel and Clave come in, and he's like,
and they're like
dead, faints,
whoa,
passes out.
Whoa.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So unlike other firms that relied on the direction of only one individual, Samuel and Clave were partners who worked together with their individual interests and talents complementing one another.
Very cool.
As their reputation and business grew, they added other dedicated individuals who would function as part of a strong team. In this way, they could assure continuity in the event of illness or misfortune, as well as enable the company which they founded and loved to continue long after them. So during the last decade of the Casavant brothers' work, they brought into the firm a young Englishman by the name of Stephen Stutt. Stutt was a well-trained craftsman who had an intense interest in organ building. I wonder how you get into organ building.
Yeah, I was just going to say.
We have Joseph, who is like seems like he was just a savant, but
yeah, he kind of like was doing blacksmith, and then he decided to go into like, organs kind of found him.
Yeah, that's
yeah.
a good
He
way
decided to
of
go
putting
into classical like
it's like
stuff,
a blend of
and
the
then,
two things that he loves.
Yeah, but this kid apparently just loves organs.
Guys, have you ever been to a freaking church? Have you seen those pipes? Oh my gosh!
32 feet high.
32 feet high. He was inventive and responsible for many of the technical improvements attributed to the Casavant company, including an extraordinarily reliable key contact and track touch mechanism. This system has been in continuous use since 1918 and is widely appreciated by organists, and it's the hallmark of Casavant playing action.
Huh.
So, bring in some new, but then, you keep the old as well.
Nice.
Carry that forward. Stephen Soot was an accomplished organist who first finished instruments during his tenure with the Casavant brothers, later succeeding Clave after his death. So
Wow.
Soot becomes like the dude after Clave passes away.
But it's still under their name.
It's still Casavant Brothers as the company name, yeah. Because I think by that point it has an international reputation.
Exactly.
Mr. Stoot's background and training gave him an appreciation and knowledge of design based on European traditions. Perhaps the best example of this is his 84-stop organ at the Church of Saint-Roch in Quebec, finished in 1843. With its complete and well-developed choruses through the mixtures of each division, independent pedal, and enclosed positive, it was a radical departure from organs built at that time and qualifies as one of the earliest examples of the organ reform movement ideals in an organ in North America. It's a fucking rad organ, guys.
The organ.
What?
What did you call that? Say that again.
A radical departure for organs built at that time. And it qualifies the organ as a reform movement ideal organ.
A reform movement ideal organ.
Because, organs went through some reform.
An
They're
RMIO.
Like, yeah. As it's known in the organ community, as you and I are both very familiar with.
That's an RMIO.
Ooh, indeed.
Indeed it is.
Sips tea. So ever since the beginnings of the company, there has been a desire to incorporate new developments and test new ideas and concepts, constantly adopting and improving Casavant organs. Following World War II, there was a revived interest in organs from the 17th and 18th century, and Casavant moved towards establishing an approach to organ building based on classical principles of design that was foreshadowed by the Saint-Roch instrument. So the Casavant mantra is, keep what's good about the old, but always be trying to innovate and make organ a more approachable instrument, which it is the most intimidating instrument, I think.
Yeah.
As a piano player, I think that's probably your best translation. And even I sit down on an organ, I'm like, I have no idea what I'm doing.
Yeah.
How do I take full advantage of this instrument? I have no idea.
No idea.
So Casavant Organ is still a thriving organ company, which I feel like you can't say about a lot of organ companies. It feels like there's a small market.
Yeah.
Especially now with, I feel like, the decline of churches in general. Like, that's the market for organs. So what do you do? Actually, I think there's a Casavant organ at Acadia University, because that's the other main market is academic institutions.
Right.
Well,
especially because Acadia University has a divinity college.
Oh, true.
It makes sense that it would be there because there's a big music program and a big divinity program, and the church on Acadia campus, I will say, is quite beautiful.
Yeah,
it's I don't know if you've ever been in it, but
no.
It's like all kind of white marble. It's really pretty.
That's pretty.
The inside is quite beautiful. A lot of people get married there,
okay.
and I get why, because
like
it's
alumni or just anyone.
Alumni and people from the valley, just
okay.
like people from they do a public service. The church at Acadia on Sundays.
That's
so
nice.
like if you live, people do. It's a very small congregation, but it's really nice.
It's nice.
It's pretty.
Love it. While the majority of the organs built today by Casavant are 2- and 3- manual instruments for installation in churches and academic institutions, the firm gets commissioned every year to design and build new organs for projects of international stature in concert halls and large churches.
Wow.
Bigger the better, baby. In addition, there are a number of projects for restoring and providing additions or modifications to Casavant organs of all vintages, where particular attention is paid to enhancing the musical aspects while respecting the original design.
It's pretty cool.
So that's the other thing. If you have a Casavant organ, you can like hire Casavant to come back and they'll like fix it all up for you.
Yeah, that's pretty nice.
Which is cool. Yeah.
Yeah.
And I think that is the nice thing about organs and pianos. Like, tradition is really important to them and longevity. So they're an investment.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
My idea of success is owning a baby grand piano.
Yeah.
Like, if I could have a house that could fit a baby grand, but also I have one.
I just want to point out, like, The Way to a Woman's Heart, like Mona Parsons.
Yes,
getting her piano.
pianos.
Like, in Little Women, you've never, like.
Oh, no, but I know.
You know.
Yeah.
So, yeah, he, like, the man across the street, Lori's uncle.
Right.
He, like, gets her own piano, the youngest sister, and it's such a moment in the book.
Pride and Prejudice.
Yeah.
Darcy gets his sister.
Yep.
Not in a romantic love way, but in like I care and love about
in
you.
an I care gesture.
Yeah.
Yeah. You know,
Gets
if you
her a piano.
if you wanna keep a lady,
piano forte.
yeah, if you wanna keep a lady, buy her a goddamn piano.
Ugh, my heart.
Yeah.
And it's so funny because I remember speaking with one of my professors from Ontario where, you know, like to get an antique piano, thousands of dollars in Toronto. And he's like, I go on Kijiji in Cape Breton and it's like everyone is just selling them for free, but you just got to move them.
Which is expensive. So, like, my mom's same deal. Like, a beautiful piano was owned by a family forever in Lunenburg. They were selling it. And they weren't selling it. They were giving it away. My mom had, like, a music teacher look at it and a piano guy look at it. And it was great condition, but they lived 2 streets over from us in Lunenburg. 2 streets over. If you cut down all the trees and tore down one house, they'd be our direct across the street neighbors. And it was like $700
to get it moved.
To move this piano. Because you can't move a freaking piano by yourself.
No.
And I will say, I won't drop any names, but the movers who moved it, a professional moving company, tore up my mom's front like hall, like the wood.
No.
Yeah, like the hardwood.
That's not good.
So she was pretty unhappy.
But. Yeah. Nova Scotia has a surplus of pianos.
Yeah.
So during their lifetime, the brothers Casavant established the finest traditions of craftsmanship among their artisans and a strong organization to carry on those traditions after them. Casavant Frères continues to stand for the artistic integrity and painstaking care which the Casavant brothers cherished and fostered. Yeah, and that's the story of Joseph Casavant and Casavant Organs, and
that was a fun one. That was a good one.
No, it's a little buckshot. We're all over the place with organs, but you know, I respect them a lot more.
Yeah, it's a lot of work.
You can still buy a Casavant organ today.
You sure can. You can go see one in Lunenburg or Halifax or Montreal.
They have like a whole catalog of like where their organs are,
which is also pretty cool. And it really is a piece of art. It's a piece of art and engineering, and it's very cool.
It's like customized.
Yeah,
they're all bespoke.
Yes.
So really cool.
Very cool. Well, thanks.
No problem.
That was fun. I love it. Again, we want to give a huge shout out to the boys yesterday for having us on their podcast, North of Normal. Go check it out, please. North of Normal Podcast on Instagram and Facebook and wherever you listen to your podcasts. Again, we always love it if you can give us a follow on our social media channels. On Instagram, we're at Minute Women Podcast. And we're the same on Facebook. And then on Twitter, we're at The Minute Women. We also have a great website that has our full episode catalog. And that's at www.minutewomenpodcast.ca.
And it's also great if you can leave us a review on iTunes or Apple Podcasts. Yes. That's like a huge support to us. So please go give us a 5-star review, even if you don't feel like it.
Yeah,
do it. It only takes a minute.
This is key. This is important. We really need some people to go on Apple Podcasts and give us some reviews. We'd really appreciate it.
Really, really big support.
We'll give you a shout out.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah.
Why not?
Why not?
And it's really important now more than ever that you're on our Instagram and our Twitter and our website because we have so many big things coming up.
We have big things coming in season 2.
I know. We're like, not to like give anything away.
Yeah.
But we're talking like more guests on the podcast. We're thinking some merch ideas, some like live shows, some potential video podcasts.
Yeah.
You can actually see us talk and fluster through this whole podcast.
You know, they do say that video killed the radio star, so
we're going to become YouTube stars.
We're going to be sensations.
Sensational.
But yeah, we've got some exciting stuff coming, so stay tuned and keep up to date with us. And again, we love to hear from you, so please shoot us a message, slide into those DMs.
It makes our day.
Makes our day.
We went and got a beer yesterday, and we saw someone who was like shouted us out in their story, and we were just like, oh my gosh!
And we cried a little.
Anyways. Yeah. Okay. Bye, guys.
Bye.